Welcome in, everybody. This is the Fantasy First Rounders brought to you by Rumboyz Network. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is our first episode of the Fantasy First Rounders. I'm your host, Chris Pinto at Aggie Kappa Sig. With me, as always, are my partners in crime, my ride or dies, Tom, Ryan, Billy. Guys, everyone who's watching, let's thank FF Peacock Miles for our new intro. Here we go. All right. Tino, thank you for being in the comments so soon, man. We're excited to be here. Guys, it's been a wild 3 weeks, at least for me here in Texas, and also behind the scenes, switching over brands, getting to a brand that supports and that we love Robbie and the Rumboyz so much. Real quick, dilly to Robbie and the Rumboyz. Thank you so much for hosting us. Tom, Ryan, Billy, guys, it's been 3 weeks. How have y'all been doing, man? I missed you guys. Like, we were on there every week. So being without you guys, it hurt me. So how are y'all doing?
Doing well. Ready to get back to this, man. It's been a long time. Actually got a little butterfly. It's been a while, you know.
Good, man. Survived the snowpocalypse in Texas. I'm glad you made it through too, Pinto. Only one burst pipe.
Yeah, man. I've been missing this. I'm ready to get going with it, ready to be on Rumboyz and for all the other exciting new things we got coming up.
For sure. Ryan, why don't we just go ahead and dive into that real quick? Obviously, we're bringing something over new this year that we're continuing on from last year. Everybody needs to join this, obviously, if you think you've got the fantasy chops to do it. So, Ryan, let everyone know what you and Billy have worked so hard to do, and this would be the second year we're doing it. So excited to do it again.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the tournament to benefit St. Jude's Sports Sector Bowl. We're going to be bigger than last year as far as how many we had with the bowl. We also have auction leagues, guillotine leagues, vampire leagues, really any league that you can think of. We're doing it. We're also going to do a pick'em, an eliminator, things of that nature. So if y'all are interested, guys, if y'all want to come play, there is a cash prize. A lot of money goes to St. Jude's. We had an awesome year last year doing it, and we're really excited to do it again this year. If you think you can play with us, come play with us. See how you do against the rest. You know, there's going to be quite a few of us playing together. And again, it goes to St. Jude, and the winner gets a big prize as well. It is awesome. We all had a blast. That was so fun last year.
For sure. Billy, what was your favorite part of last year's St. Jude Bowl? Because mine was having the utter defeat of Voltroning the Texans offense and then just failing me. So that was my highlight of the year.
I definitely wrote the book on why you don't take a quarterback in the first round. I was picking that like the 11th spot in a 12-man division. Patrick Mahomes landed there while all the running backs I really wanted gone, so I decided to make the sexy pick, and I ended up with Kareem Hunt and Melvin Gordon as my RB1 and 2, and Kareem Hunt pulled through, Melvin Gordon let me down, and Mahomes wasn't exactly Mahomes-ish all year, so I got my ass kicked. So it wasn't a great time for me, but hey, if you want to know why you don't take a quarterback early, look at my performance last year in the St. Jude Bowl, and I can show you why.
Yeah, don't take Michael Thomas either.
Yes, don't do that either.
You got to take some hot takes early and make the people question early in the season, right?
Yeah, I won't do it again though. I promise. I promise.
Yeah, running back.
I'm just saying, running back is not too terribly bad.
Tried and true.
Everyone who's joining us, though, y'all know that we switched brands over to the Rumboyz, Robbie and the Rumboyz Peacock, all the great guys, great support that they have. We're going to finish on an epic night. Y'all have never seen us do 9 quarterbacks or 9 teams in a night. We're going to finish that tonight, guys, and we're going to have a little bit of help from a huge personality in the fantasy football world, Twitter, to say the least. The dude is so inspirational. Co-host of FF Confidential, co-owner, co-founder of Join the Circle, and then also brand new to thefootballguys.com. Billy, we get their emails every week because we love great content, and why not have such a great guy on your roster like Troy King? Everybody, welcome in at T King Mode. Troy King bringing in the music, bringing in the inspiration, and also the fantasy football knowledge. Troy, it's finally glad to talk to you and chop it up with you, brother.
Yo, man. Thank you guys for having me. That was one hell of an intro, so I appreciate it. I don't know if I deserve all that love, but thank you guys so much. I'm excited to talk football with y'all.
For sure, man. You definitely deserve the intro, and I give some good intros. That's definitely up there, but you definitely deserve it, Troy. Let's jump on into it, man. Obviously, you're such a big personality, and you get out there first and foremost. Anyone who has seen you or follows you knows that you have to get out there and put yourself out there to have the following that you have because you're very genuine. That being said, man, you've had some current works, you've had some future works right now. I want to talk about your current works right now. What are you currently working on right now? And maybe you can tell us something about footballguys.com.
So footballguys.com, that's going to be a little bit of a secret for the time being. So stay tuned for that. So I'm going to be, it's not going to be anything crazy, but stay tuned for the Football Guys stuff. We're probably going to be doing articles, video content, but in terms of details, you'll have to wait for those. In terms of Fantasy Football Confidential, so we're doing every other Wednesday during the off season, but we have some huge guests throughout the off season. Some of them haven't been announced yet, but we have Andy Barons coming on next week, and then we have like Matt Waldman. We have some other surprise names that are going to be coming on later, but y'all see. And join our circle. I'm just, helping promote the brand, and I'll be getting some articles out very shortly. So that's kind of currently what I'm working on. And tomorrow, me, Steffi Smalls, and Dave Kluge, we're going to be doing a Clubhouse presentation at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's about networking. So it's about networking and growing in the industry. So check us out tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's 5 o'clock our time, Ryan. So I'll be joining that. Ryan, I'll send you over an invite. Tom, I've got one too. Billy, you have iOS?
Yep.
Then we'll all get up on there tomorrow, 5 o'clock our time. Troy, we'll see you there in the clubhouse, man. Awesome. Good. It'll be the first time that I've actually joined one of the talks. I'm super excited to do it, so it should be pretty fun. Speaking of new apps, SportsMe, guys, we got to get on there and help out Robbie at the Rumboyz, man. We got to get some battles in. I know, Ryan, you're going to dominate some tight end battles here pretty soon. But that being said as well, guys, we're drafting right now. We're in a bunch of dynasty leagues right now. It's dynasty startup season, Troy, and I don't know how many you are in right now, but you've got to have some pet peeves about drafting, favorite draft position spots, who you're targeting. Obviously, right now there's all different ways. It's kind of the wild, wild west, right? You can have rookies in the draft. You can have draft picks. You can have only vets and then draft after your rookies after the draft. What are your kind of favorite your little tidbits right now? Your favorite spots, your favorite players to draft, and then also some of your pet peeves.
Sure. So I'll say that in terms of a startup, I like rookies included. I like vets and rookies. I don't like separate. That makes things a little bit too complicated.
Love it.
So that's that. In terms of spot, that's tough for me. I do like being either in the beginning or I like being at the end. I don't like being in the middle. So I like to be able to get my players close together. That's just me personally. I hate the wait, but I like having players of equal value that can get fairly close together. So that's kind of what I prefer. in terms of my teams, I'm a running back guy. I like to have my solid running backs. I like to have that as my foundation, right? If it's a super flex, I do want to get at least one elite QB because I'm sorry, like I know some people like to wait on QB. That's not me. I get nervous. I'm like, I don't want to have to be rolling with Kirk Cousins as my QB1. I can maybe win that way, but I'd rather get a stud QB, stud running back, because I believe that wide receiver is so deep. I'm normally willing to wait on that. My tight end. So normally I'm a wait on your tight end guy, and I believe that I'm sort of like that. After last year, I kind of want a solid tight end because it really sucks when like a Tyler Higbee doesn't pan out the way you want him to pan out, or like a Hayden Hurst. He's supposed to be like everyone's sleeper. It didn't work out the way you wanted to. So I might be more willing to take a tight end earlier than that I maybe have in the past. But those are kind of some of the things that I normally like.
Billy, Ryan, I know y'all have some tips and tricks. Obviously, y'all are running back guys and also tight end guys. Any questions or concerns about that for Troy, especially our podcast league that we're going into?
So, Troy, tell me a running back that you got to have this year that maybe falls outside of the normal consensus kind of top 10 guys. Who's a guy you got to get somewhere in that mid rounds for your running back depth?
Ooh, I would say in the startup, I love J.K. Dobbins. He's not going to be necessarily top. I feel like he's right there, but he's not going to be top 10. But I love J.K. Dobbins. In terms of anyone else, here's the thing. Then it gets after the top running back, then it gets a little bit dicey, right? Running back thins out very quickly. So that's where I'm like. So I'm trying to think anyone else in that range. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I would say J.K. Dobbins is my dude. It's like the Antonio Gibsons. They're kind of within that range too. The Miles Sanders are towards like the back of the top 10. So those are some of the guys that I'm kind of looking at to grab from my RBs.
Nice.
So if you have the 1.01 and you're not in a super flex, who's coming off the board first?
Oh, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, still CMC.
It's still CMC for me.
Yeah, I think I'd go Saquon just because I'm a Saquon guy. I am a Saquon guy. I'm a Saquon guy. But I get CMC 100%. I get
Saquon, yeah, but
I think the first year you could legitimately put 3 or 4 running backs as the RB1 and make an argument for them.
I love Kamara too. I wouldn't take him running back 1, but it's close. Like you may be able to convince me on that.
So I got to ask you, Troy. I'm one of these guys. I'm a little impatient sometimes. My guys know me. We do a charity tournament. This will be the second year that we do it for St. Jude. In my league, we started first, but we also finished in like 3 days, as opposed to the next closest league that was like, a week. I'm an on-the-clock guy. And not that I'm rushing people. I'm just alerting people. Like, and I give them like 30 minutes. I'm like, hey, you know what? You're 30 minutes on the clock. You're on the clock. Not that I expect you to make the pick, but I'm just letting you know. And how do you feel about that? Because I'm in a league with Steffi right now, and I have 0 say in the chat right now because on the clock is super faux pas, so I didn't want to jump.
Riley.
Oh, the fact that you're in a league with Steffi, I'm going to be in a league with her too, but good luck with that. But I'm the type of dude where I'm like, all right, I kind of like you. Like, I like to let people know when they're on the clock because, maybe you don't get, the alert, maybe you don't get but I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, listen, just so you know, you're on the clock, like no rush. Well, I don't want you taking all like 8 hours. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get impatient. Everyone gets impatient. But if you're busy, if you take like hour, 2 hours, I'm fine with it. If it starts getting to the 8-hour range, then I'm going to start getting a little annoyed.
For sure. I mean, that's my whole take on it. Tom, do you have anything to add on that, or do you want to jump into quarterbacks?
I'm ready to go quarterbacks, man. I'm all in on it.
Troy, I hope you can join us for a little bit. This is our 4-part edition. We went through and dissected the first 75% of the league. We're on the back half. We're hoping to finish tonight. The epic conclusion, 9 different teams of the quarterback equation part 4. And I want to jump right in, Troy, while I have you right now, and hopefully we can keep you here for a while. The New York Giants, man. You have Daniel Jones, And, not my guys. I'm repping the A&M right here, Ryan, not a fan of Colt McCoy at all, but obviously he's the second guy, I guess. But we're really talking about Daniel Jones here. How does this guy stack up? Is he the guy of the future for the team? He's played 13 games in his first season, 12 games, then 13. He was the 1.06 in his draft. But each year, I'm looking at it, he was expected 220 fantasy points and 226, and he fell short of that both years. The second year, the sophomore slump was terrible. His first year, he missed it by 20 points, and then the second year by 45 points. That is absolutely ridiculous with the talent that they have. Granted, the starters of the New York Giants have played a complete 7 quarters together as starters. So, what do you expect from Daniel Jones if he's in Dynasty for you? How are you taking him? And also in Superflex. Troy, kick this off, and then we'll go to Tom.
Sure. And Daniel Jones is a mystery, right, for me, because originally my first take on Daniel Jones after the season, I'm like, this guy's garbage, right? but then I'm like, all right, let me really assess what happened. One, his offensive line has always been absolutely horrible. He's never has enough time to, push the ball downfield. Like he's always having to deal with that. Obviously last year Saquon got hurt, Gallman did fine, but also he doesn't really have a number one receiver. You got Shepard, Tate just got released. You got Slayton, like those aren't really, and Evan Ingram, he's been inconsistent. He's had injury problems. So he hasn't really had like a bona fide, let's say, wide receiver one on the team either. And then obviously the defense hasn't, overall for his career, they have been like stellar. And also the coaching hasn't been that great either. So if you really take everything together, I don't want to blame Dan Jones for everything. And that's also probably contributing to the fumbles. Like if the O-line's not protecting you, it's a really good high chance you're either going to throw an interception, or you're going to fumble. Granted, his fumbles were a little bit ridiculous. Like it was kind of excessive. So I'm going to blame him, but I believe that he's going to be a steal. So if the Giants are smart, they're going to roll with him next year. I don't know what they're going to take a quarterback is maybe going to be later in the draft, but they're not like going to trade up or anything to try to get a quarterback. I believe they're going to stick with Daniel Jones, and I think that's the smart thing, but they need to put pieces around him for him to succeed, because obviously he still has that rushing ability as well. Like we forget sometimes, but in fantasy, he hopefully next year, if he gets some protection or whatever, maybe might see a little bit more rushing from him. Or if they acquire a real wide receiver one, that might also help him. So I believe he's definitely someone you should target, maybe as a QB2, or if you have 2 QBs, you can probably get him as a QB3 because people are so low on him, and you can even buy low. So if you're in a dynasty league, like no one's like high on Daniel Jones right now. And that's normally the perfect opportunity. If he's a starting QB, that's who you want to target in a trade, try to buy low. And so that's my take on it.
You're absolutely right about that. I didn't even realize that. I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy. Ryan fills that void for us, but Ryan, you would know that, 21 and then 31 yards per game as his floor for rushing. 3.5 rushes per game and then 4.3 rushes per game. That's pretty good for a quarterback that you don't consider to have a rushing floor. So I really like that, Troy. Thank you so much. Tom, take it away, man. What do you think about this team?
Well, I definitely don't think that buying Daniel Jones low is a bad option, right? Like there is upside to him, especially with Saquon coming back. I think that helps him a lot. That offensive line is pretty terrible. So hopefully they improve it a little bit in the draft and in free agency. Bringing Saquon back takes a bit of pressure off of Daniel Jones, at least establish some sort of running game, which they didn't seem to really be able to. They couldn't get that going this year, so you're really relying on your quarterback. Pros for Daniel Jones, he's faster than Lamar Jackson, apparently. I didn't know that until he fell flat on his face. So there's also a con to Daniel Jones. He might be faster, but he can't stay on his feet. So – but like actually looking at his stats, completion percentage is pretty atrocious. 61.9 is rookie season, 62.5 this year. Not ideal, right? Like it's not the worst, but not the best. He's double-digit interceptions both years. This year really was rough. 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Nothing about it inspires confidence to me, though. So definitely a buy low situation, and maybe use him kind of as trade bait for somebody that is a little bit higher on him, and try and sell him on the whole Saquon's coming back thing.
Speaking of that, there goes Ryan.
I'm the buyer. If you're in my league, I will get Daniel Jones from you. The things that I look at, yes, he had a ridiculously high turnover rate as a rookie. Rookies do that. If you remember, Peyton Manning had that record for a while. The thing about Jones is he lowered his fumbles and his interceptions from year 2 and increased his completion percentage. I realized that it wasn't a big increase, but when you look at the lack of running game that they had, what he was able to do, I'm still quite impressed as far as the improvements he was able to make. I came into year 2, Daniel Jones, concerned about the turnovers. I'm less concerned about the turnovers than I was last year. Also, having Saquon is going to change the game for him. Defenses really didn't fear the run. And like y'all were talking about, there was no wide receiver 1. I do like Slayton, but we need to bring in a young stud running back receiver to at least push those guys and take over the wide receiver 1 spot, because Evan Ingram showed him he could stay healthy this year. So when I saw that, okay, they have the tight end. I like Caden Smith, actually. But for me, Daniel Jones is a guy I'm all over in Dynasty. And I'd be really happy to have him as my QB2 in Superflex, especially since I want to go so heavy with running backs.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same about the Giants. They're really lacking that wide receiver 1, like we see people in the chat, and Ryan, you guys have all mentioned. However, I think this is also a team that could benefit from having a true slot receiver. They've got 2 subpar outside guys with Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. I do like those guys. However, I just feel like they're not the type of guys that really scare you into needing to double cover anybody. Evan Ingram, showed himself that he could be healthy, 4th in the NFL in targets from the tight end position, but needs to catch more passes. One thing Daniel Jones did better this year, if you look across the stats, he's worse across the board, but I'm going to contribute a lot of that to the hamstring injury that he carried throughout most of the back half of the season when he played. The guy couldn't hardly move at all. When you can't move, you can't step into throws, that's going to cause some accuracy issues, and maybe just not really executing in the way you'd like under pressure, things of that nature. And also, no running game to speak of really for the Giants that really makes you come down in the box, helps dictate some coverage, makes things easy on a young quarterback. So I think Saquon coming back, maybe get some more pass catches. If they don't land like an Allen Robinson, that true wide receiver 1 type of guy, I think they could get themselves a guy with a skill set similar to like Cole Beasley, somebody that's gonna find space and move the chains on those third down situations outside of Evan Ingram, because it's pretty apparent where they're going with the ball in that situation. All things that kind of counter, a young quarterback trying to grow when it's pretty easy to tell what they're going to do with the ball. So I think getting everybody back together, some continuity in the coaching staff, I think bodes well for the Giants moving into 2021. And I'm one that's hoping that Daniel Jones can really step it up and it really give us more of the glimpses that we saw as a rookie. Last year was kind of short on the highlights in comparison, but 5 300-yard games as a rookie, the guy can ball. He just needs the right pieces around him while he develops, in my opinion.
Yeah, they definitely need a guy that can stretch the field, because Slayton's a monster, in my mind, as a possession guy. But like you were mentioning, Billy, he went from points per game 16th in the league to last year 33rd in the league. So he can only go up from here, hopefully, right? So that being said, another guy that can only go up after shedding about, 180 pounds off of him, and Adam Gase, is the New York Jets quarterback, Sam Darnold. Ryan, I want you to talk about Sam Darnold. I'm not even going to talk about him too much. I just know how much of an affinity you had for hating Adam Gase, and I want you to start this, because Sam Darnold's been the talk of the town right now. Is he injured? Are they getting rid of him? Is he the quarterback of the future? Is he going to go somewhere else? What do you think is going to happen with that New York Jets pick that they have so early in the draft?
Yeah, man, the way I look at it, Sam Darnold has never had a real fair shot. Adam Gase is the fantasy destroyer. He's the career destroyer. He's like a black hole of hatred and evil. Now that he's gone, Sam Darnold actually gets an opportunity. So I really don't like USC quarterbacks. I don't know why or what it is, but they've kind of sucked since Carson Palmer. So I didn't like Darnold coming in. But from what I've seen, based off of what he had to work with, I feel like he has a realistic shot to show some serious growth. I mean, he's shown the flashes in the first years with like, whoa, this guy could be that guy. But then Adam Gase would just drop a boot right on his forehead. It was terrible the whole time watching Adam Gase destroy his career. Now that he's gone, I think Darnold, I like Mims. I do think that the Jets should be a lot better this year than they were last year just because they lost Gates. They should add some stuff in the draft. But I think Darnold is a guy I'm seriously targeting in Dynasty, and I am, again, looking at him as basically a little bit not as safe Daniel Jones in my mind. Darnold has the tools, and again, Gase is gone. We saw what that happened to Tannehill with Miami, with Devontae Parker, with Kenyon Drake. How many people's careers does he have to murder? So I am actually into Darnold. My thing is it's more about Gase, and now that Gase is gone, I'm back into the Jets again. And then for Flacco, whatever. Is that guy even going to be in the NFL next year? Nobody else in this team is exciting. They're either drafting somebody and they're moving with Darnold.
Tom, what's your take on this being so close to the Jets?
I definitely think that getting rid of Gase helps you here. I mean, I think the entire world would agree on that. Even Adam Gase's own mother would probably agree with it. Here's my thing with Sam Darnold, right? Ryan's right. He really hasn't gotten just a clear shot at any sort of success. And the benefit to to trading him isn't really there, right? You're a quarterback on the 4th year of your rookie deal. So what's the worst that happens if you're the Jets here? You already have 2 first-round picks this year, a second and 2 thirds. So even just early round picks, you got 5 of them there. You can build around him for the year, and then if it doesn't work out, you're free from him next year. You don't have to worry about him continuing beyond that. You can either draft, you can sign him again, or you can pick up somebody in free agency. I think it's a 1-year prove it for him. Let him roll with anybody that's not named Adam Gase and give him a real chance here. Give him some receivers.
Troy, drop the knowledge on us, man, because I know you've been stewing a little bit. I saw when we started talking Gase, you had a little twitch.
Oh, I had a twitch because I'm a Dolphins fan. So, so I had this deal with, look, he did have that 1 year where we made it to the playoffs. So I got to give him some credit for that one. But Ryan Tannehill balled out that year. Besides that, he has been riding, Peyton Manning's coattails for way too long, right? So we already know he's garbage. Like, I don't need to really break down Adam Gase. Sam Darnold, he is another one. And I hate that you started with these two dudes because both of them are mysteries, right? Because you can make a lot of excuses for Darnold, and there's times where he's looked like a competent NFL quarterback, and there's some times where he just looked horrible, like seeing ghosts. Like he's just been too inconsistent. Like, we can blame Gase all we want, but at the same time, he has shown inconsistent play throughout his career. And they need a running game too. Like, dude, freaking Frank Gore was their starting running back. Like, that's pathetic. Like, you need to address that. Obviously, this whether it's draft, free agency, whatever. They have plenty of money, so I'm curious what they're going to do there. They do need wide receiver help because the only one we're talking about is Mims. Perryman, he's not going to be there. So it's really Mims. Who on the Jet are we excited for? Darnold? Well, not even Darnold, just Mims. Mims is the only person that's a problem, right? So they clearly have to do a lot. They made some offensive line, they addressed it a little bit last year in the draft. So we'll see what they're going to do this year. But I'm saying all that to get back to Darnold, where if I were them, I like Justin Fields better. I would like to take Justin Fields at number 2 if it was me, but it would make more sense if you took Penny Sewell at number 2, help beef up that offensive line, give Darnold another shot, give him some weapons, and then if he just sucks again this year, then move on. I was hoping that, he would be the one that was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And that was kind of like my dream scenario. Like, okay, like I was thinking about I actually bought him in one league, hoping that was going to be the case. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but that's my take on it.
That's fair. Billy, what do you have to add to this, brother?
Yeah, Sam Darnold's another guy, kind of like Daniel Jones. I really like the kid, but unlike Daniel Jones, he really has no help. And to Troy's point, who's the guy that you're most excited about on this offense? 2 things you need for a young quarterback: safety blanket and a good tight end. Don't have that. Running game so that we can sit here, we can hand it off and keep it simple for him. We don't have that. And your best receiver is Jamison Crowder, who's going to be a cap casualty cut more than likely at a $10 million price tag, they're probably not keeping a guy like Jameson Crowder around for $10 million. And then the second leading receiver, Brashad Perryman, is going to be out the door, to Troy's point as well. So young quarterback, no supporting cast, unfamiliar receivers moving into this year. I hope the Jets get rid of Sam Darnold and give him an opportunity to play anywhere else in the world, because the kid deserves it. He's a much younger guy, a couple years younger than most quarterbacks getting their start in the NFL career. I don't think he's broken. I think he's had a lot put on his shoulders. New York's a tough place to play, and really the expectations for the Jets are always way higher than the potential really is. So he's been in a really tough situation and really hasn't played his best football. I'd like to see him go somewhere with maybe where he's the missing guy. Like the Colts have been great. They've got a running game. They've got some veteran receivers and kind of, he can look to in the huddle kind of thing. I think Sam Darnold just needs to go somewhere where the coaching staff can develop quarterbacks, help him connect the dots on a few of the things he's missing. Because like you guys said, he's shown that he can be competent NFL quarterback. Other times looks like garbage. That's more than likely, a testament to the coaching staff and the coaching that he's been receiving on a week-to-week basis. So you give him a spot where a coach can sit down with him, break it down, and maybe in a tough spot, he's got a veteran guy to look to in the huddle. It's not all on him with a bunch of, Frank Gore. Come on, man, this guy's 40-something years old, still playing running back. If that's the big guy that you had to look to in a huddle, there's going to be some rough times trying to get first downs in the NFL. Unfortunately for Sam Darnold, I think he's just had way too much on his plate for where he's at as a quarterback, and a different change of scenery might do the guy well. A team we talk about all the time, you guys, if Sam Darnold goes to San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, that staff, guys around him that are very talented, and hey, George Kittle, a really great option for a safety blanket in that tight end spot. I bet you Sam Darnold is a borderline top 12 guy in the right situation. I really just believe in the guy.
I don't doubt that at all. I kind of like the kid coming out of college. To Troy's point and to both of you guys' point, his completion percentage over the past 3 years has not been good. His first year, 18.6 out of 32.2, and then 20.8 out of 33.8. Last year was very, very dismal at 17.6 over 30. So he needs a little bit of help, like Troy was mentioning, the seeing ghost type stuff, man. Like, you got to fix that. Tom, I see you with the mic. I see you trying to pull some stuff out of the dryer. What's so hot up there, man?
No, so somebody asked, what's the contingency plan if he sucks, right? Because they did bring up a good point. There's a big drop-off for quarterbacks in the draft. Why don't the Jets go out, get a guy like Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock? If the Broncos bring in a quarterback, I'd bet you the asking price for either of those quarterbacks is pretty low. You can bring him in under Darnold. So even if this year you decide that Darnold's not the guy partway through the season, great. You got somebody else you can throw in there. But worst case, you still have them on contract into next year. That I don't think either of those are a bad contingency plan if you don't want to rely on next year's draft class.
Like the old Andy Dalton type situation.
Exactly.
Troy, what do you think about that?
I actually really like that take, to be honest with you. I feel like that's probably the first time I heard that take.
Tom!
I mean, personally, no, I'm being serious. Like, I don't think I've heard, but it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you do miss out on somebody, those guys are still young enough where I don't know if they're franchise guys. Like, I'm still, we got Minshew Mania was fun and all, and Drew Lock, we always see him rapping that, those lyrics, but I don't know if they're going to be, the future. But at the same time, I believe that they're going to be cheap, most likely, to bring in. They're still young enough. You can give them a shot to see what they got. But I believe that's a good contingency plan. And even if there is a drop-off next year, it's still going to be a draft. There still could be a quarterback next year that could be your future. But I do like that. It's definitely interesting. I haven't heard that one before.
It's a bridge, right? And
exactly.
Here's the thing. If Sam Darnold isn't your guy, your team probably didn't do well, and you're probably going to have a top pick again.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Tom, you and Troy keep on going. I like the chemistry y'all got going on. What do you guys think, obviously, about Tom's Philadelphia Eagles, Troy? He's a Philly guy, man. He sent us a little video when they won the Super Bowl. He got kicked out of a bar, and
he's doing it right.
Send that to you later. But Jalen Hurts, Nate Sudfeld, man. Jalen Hurts, they know how I feel about this kid. My brother-in-law is an OU grad. I've watched everything I could about Jalen Hurts. I think he's phenomenal. I truly love the kid. But what do you guys, obviously, what do you think, Troy? Because Tom is going to have a rebuttal for whatever you say.
Of course. Well, the Eagles are a mess. Let's start there. You guys they're very dysfunctional right now, but I am a Jalen Hurts truther. I believe that if they, I mean, they've been talks that they could still possibly take a QB. I feel like that wouldn't make any sense. Like, he looked good in his opportunity last year, and I'm still mad that they pulled him for Nate Sudfeld. I don't know why that was ridiculous. I'm still salty about that. But anyways, Jalen Hurts, he showed enough, and he's only going to get, and again, he didn't have any like prep. He's kind of just thrown in there, and he looked good doing it. The Eagles should roll with him. I think he has a future. I believe that he could be a solid starter. And in terms of fantasy, he could easily be a QB1. Like, it's not that hard, especially with how much he rushes. I'm very high on him if he is the guy. And, in terms of the wide receivers, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts. I mean, not Jalen Hurts, sorry. Jalen Reagor. I mean, last year he had dealt with an injury, so hopefully, he has the opportunity to, prove his first-round status. But I believe that I think they need to address some weapons there. But at the end of the day, I'm a Jalen Hurts truther.
So anybody that's ever listened to our show knows my thoughts on Jalen Hurts, and it's not exactly yours.
I had a feeling that was coming.
I respect your take, right? I'm not big on him, right? 52% completion percentage, even with a bad line, even with, suboptimal receivers. That's pretty atrocious, right? And I didn't really see a lot of development from him game to game. I saw him still making bad reads. I saw him still missing open throws. And even when he was running, there's only so long that lasts. I think that Ryan is on the same page as me with like Lamar Jackson. He's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's a ticking time bomb. At some point, there's a very significant possibility that's a guy that gets an injury that slows him down. Like you look at Michael Vick after so long, you can't run 1,000 yards a season every year. It's not going to happen. Albeit Vick's a little bit different circumstance, but Cam Newton, same type of thing. You get beat up and they can't perform at that top tier. If they have to go with Hurts, by all means, I don't think it's the worst option in the world. I think that the Eagles should be in full blow up the team mode. I think Kelsey's going, so your line is going to be different. It sounds like, there's a possibility of Ertz being cut if they don't trade him. JJ Arcega-Whiteside might not be there. There's a lot of stuff going around. At the end of the day, Howie Roseman's the one that really needs to leave. I would love to.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah, Howie Roseman sucks. All right, great. There's actually banners in Philly across from WIP, the main radio here for sports radio, that say "Fire Howie Roseman" right across from their offices. So that's where we're at. But end of the day, I would love to see, if available, and I don't think he will be, is Zach Wilson out of BYU.
I mean, I think that Zach Wilson's a good QB. If you could get him, then I understand. But at the same time, counter your arguments, right? This man didn't have enough. You're talking about the games he played and show consistency. He barely played any games. Like, he played any games to show consistency. And the 52%, that's not great. But at the same time, it goes to you didn't have a lot of experience. But you know what? He used his legs a lot. He did what he needed to do to make plays to put his team in the best possible situations. And it's not always going to look pretty, right? And he's one of those QBs, like we comped him to Lamar Jackson. That's probably the easiest comp that you can give him. But if you're giving this guy a full season, he's not going to throw 52% for a whole season. Like, we have a very small sample size. So I believe it's hard to be too critical of him based off what we saw, based off of all the horribleness with the offensive line and his weapons. Again, Travis Fulgham was a freaking thing. Like, let's be honest here. Like, he wasn't throwing at anybody. So if you give him a season with better weapons than he had, and also you had a washed up Zach Ertz, Goddard, he was coming out of injury. Like, there's so many things that were in play to me. But if you give him a full season, if he sucks next year, then again, you have to have a contingency plan. But I just believe the sample size is too small to just be out on him right now.
I definitely get that. I will say I wouldn't put it past Howie Roseman to just do something incredibly stupid based on the whole quarterback factory.
Oh boy, I think I know what you're.
It's a painful time for us.
Oh yeah, you guys you're rough. I'm a Dolphins fan. I've had my share of pain, but y'all going through it right now.
Tom, what you can hang your hat on though for Jalen, well, I will say is in college, regardless a win, a tie, or a loss, he is in the gym working out, looking at film 20 minutes after he's taken a shower. His ADOT is phenomenal at a 9.3 right now, and his attempted air yards were close to 1,200 yards, even though he only completed 900 yards, right? So he's trying to take these passes, and his TD to interception ratio is 2-1. So being that rookie year, he's going to have a little bit of those growing pains type thing. I'm hoping he progresses, and this could be the year that he progresses, right? Because it's going to be the second year for him, obviously. So I'm hoping he goes up in the full off season, the full preseason, and then the floor for his rushing. You guys know how I'm a sucker for a dual threat quarterback. Ryan, what do you think, man? I haven't heard too much from you about this. Have we covered it all?
Nah, I just don't think the Eagles can start Tim Tebow next year at quarterback. And that's what they're doing with Jalen Hurts.
No.
Ryan, come on, man.
Do you know how eerily similar the numbers are between Tebow's rookie year and Hurts's?
Very close.
It's bonkers.
I'm not even entertain this, Ryan.
It's bonkers. You have to entertain it, but he had 9 fumbles as well. Like, he had 9 total touchdowns, 9 fumbles, and 4 interceptions. On top of a 52%.
You tell me Zeke is terrible too, right? Because Zeke had a whole bunch of fumbles this year. I mean,
weren't we talking about Daniel Jones having a subpar completion percentage at 62%? This is 52%, guys.
But he didn't. But again, with smaller sample size. But look, I'm not excusing the fumbles. I'm not saying that he was an amazing. But I believe that he showed like enough. To, like, okay, you can roll with this guy. He's cheap. You don't have to draft another QB. Just build what you got. I'm sorry, I can't do Tebow. That's a stretch.
I'm with you on that, Drew.
The only difference, guys, is that Tebow didn't lose. He won.
Oh,
that's the literal difference. Is their record? That is their only difference.
Billy, normally you agree with Ryan. I'm gonna tap you in right now. Where are you siding on this?
Yeah, I love Jalen Hurts. Let me jog your guys' memory about this guy a little bit. Take him back to Alabama. This is a running quarterback that had a lot of success young, got pulled in the game where they needed to throw. Tua came in. He was the throwing guy. He threw him back into the ball game. Jalen Hurts on the sideline, legitimately happy for his teammates' success. I thought that showed a big amount of character, a big piece of the puzzle that people overlook a lot. Secondly, he goes to Oklahoma. Everybody's like, why is he going to Oklahoma? They got to throw a lot there. He doesn't throw. He turned himself into a pretty damn good passer down there at OU. Did the damn thing pretty well, in my opinion. So he gets drafted by the Eagles. Controversial draft pick, picking him high. They already have a quarterback. Why did they do this? Prep the whole summer, the whole year as a backup quarterback. So what really was he getting in practice? What kind of reps? What kind of work? Nothing probably tangible for the guy to be all that successful. All of a sudden, Carson Wentz shitting down his leg, trouble with the coach. Maybe he's not a leader, locker room crap going on. He gets thrown in there. And the guy played pretty well. Won some games. Part of that completion percentage, let's not forget how daunting that Washington football team defense came to be at the end of the year when he ran into them while the Eagles were throwing the game to let the Redskins win that division. However, if you look at his last 4 games of the season, he averaged over 11 points just rushing. An 11-point floor from rushing for a quarterback is a pretty good spot for a fantasy quarterback, in my opinion. Now take a guy that hopefully the offense progresses. He's going to work this offseason, guys. He's going to work unlike anybody else. If you see the growth from the quarterback he was at Bama to the quarterback he became the very next season at Oklahoma, this guy can do a lot in one offseason. And as he's preparing to be the starter, I really think we see a ton of growth. And Jalen Reagor, I think he's the real deal. I think they need to play Fulgham as well. Dallas Goedert moves into that tight end one that kind of had the injury, Ertz doesn't want to be here kind of stuff going on. So I think as things move on, Wentz is out of the locker room. Hurts is the guy and preparing to be the guy all summer. Goes into the season knowing he's a starter, getting those reps, getting that coaching, looking at the film just a little bit different way. And honestly, from Wentz to Hurts, two very, very different quarterbacks. So it's really hard to tailor an offense from one guy to the opposite spectrum so quickly mid-season. And it was really kind of a confusing situation for everybody involved. So those factors make me believe in Hurts. I like what I saw. He also carried one of my dynasty teams to a title last year, getting hot for me at the right time when I needed a quarterback. So, hey, I'm always going to be biased with Jalen Hurts. I just like the kid going clear back to when he got benched at Alabama. You could really tell there wasn't no salt in that guy's drink right there. He was legitimately happy for his teammate and that success, and I think that shows a huge amount of character, the right kind of thing for a guy that'll work on himself. He'll be back next year, and a lot of Eagles fans will be jumping on that bandwagon and rocking that number 2 jersey. What's up, JB? How you doing, man?
Hey, we need to clip. We need to clip that TiVo thing. We need to clip that, man. Cause I'm telling you, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back to bite you, Ryan.
I'm ready, man.
Clip it.
I'm ready.
Quick note, real quick, on Hurts practicing as the backup. He probably had more practice with the guys he played with because of that.
True.
Very well. But we're also practicing Carson Wentz offense.
So I think that offense also was never ideal for Carson Wentz, because if you follow, for anybody that actually follows Eagles, what you saw all season was everybody smashing their heads into the wall saying get Carson Wentz out of the pocket. Not that he's a running quarterback, but he's not
he's mobile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's kind of that middle ground, and that's where he is.
He's
that offense was
270 plus rushing yards, 3 touchdowns the last 4 games of the season. As a fantasy quarterback, that's a really good floor for you moving into 2021 for a guy that you're going to get a lot later than a lot of quarterbacks that people perceive to be better fantasy quarterbacks than Jalen Hurts.
Especially up until draft day when Howie Roseman takes another quarterback.
Oh my God.
Oh Lord.
God.
Well, okay.
I thought Tom was an Eagles fan. I'm
but Tom is like a diehard Eagles fan. Like, he don't care. Like, the Eagles, like, man, he's like a real football coach. He doesn't care about fantasy football when it comes to the Eagles. He's like, I want to win this mother right now. Like, I don't care if you need 2 points and an octopus to win your league. I don't care. I'm running the clock out right now.
Fan
Trying
base
to get kicked out of the bar again.
That's fair. I mean, we're going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to keep it moving, man. We're moving a little bit quicker today, and I like it. I think it's because Troy's got a little bit of spunk in us, so I like it, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Billy Whitt, man. When they were undefeated, Billy came and said they were not going to win another game, and it happened. They did not win another game. The Pittsburgh Steelers have Ben Roethlisberger right now, man, and he's been there forever. He's coming back this season. They still have Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges. They got Joshua Dobbs, and then apparently they signed Dwayne Haskins as well. So they have a full quarterback room to complement Big Ben as the bridge. The guy, to me, I mean, he was lacking last year in a lot of areas, right? I mean, he's definitely on the decline. I'm not going to talk about that too much. But Billy, man, you being so hot earlier with your Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, man, keep the fire going with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, so Big Ben, not a guy I'm that hip on. However, if you look at his numbers, only his 4th career 30-plus touchdown season and his fewest interceptions thrown since like 2014, I believe it is, with only 10. So 33-10 ratio is pretty good considering he's had a hell of a lot better cast of wide receivers around him than he had last year. Even the number 1 guy, Juju Smith-Schuster, really underperforming from the wide receiver standpoint, and really no real run game to think of. So Steelers kind of really not looking like themselves. However, Ben having one of his better seasons statistically. However, the $41 million cap hit in 2021 is going to be a real issue for the Steelers, especially with the supporting cast and the up-and-comers in that division. The Browns are a playoff team. Ravens are atop the AFC. And, hey, the Bengals are coming, whether you think they are or not. They finally have a quarterback. They've got some good pieces around him. I think the Steelers are in a really vulnerable spot to sit at the bottom of this division for a while, and I'm not sure that the organization really wants to keep rolling with Ben Roethlisberger, who's been their starter for so long. However,
yeah, I mean, obviously the face of the franchise, right, for the longest. Ryan, what do you think about it?
Man, I don't think that if they don't have Ben, they don't have a quarterback. I don't like Rudolph. I don't like Hodges or Dobbs, and I think Haskins at best is a project not ready for this year. So they need Ben to come back, or maybe they should be calling about Watson. Seriously, I don't know what they have, but Pittsburgh's always been good. Like, doesn't it seem like throughout our entire life they're always good? So I believe they'll find a way. I think Ben comes back this year. Again, like you said, his stats were pretty solid when you looked at like the overall big picture, especially considering they didn't have a running game at all. Like, and Connor's gone. We'll see who they add in this draft. But to me, like, I could see Ben Roethlisberger being a sneaky little play as like a late quarterback taken in a 1 QB league that ends up finishing as a top 10, 12 quarterback, just because if that run game gets going, he does have all those receiving options. He has that great defense, and he's always been an aired out guy. I know his arm wasn't doing good, but I assume he eats a few less Roethlisbergers this offseason and comes back in a little bit better shape because he can't be over 300 pounds for every year of his career. So all he's got to do is shave 50 or so off, and he'll have a little bit longer career. But for me, I'm looking at in redraft, Roethlisberger is going to be available late, and to me, if you can get like a Roethlisberger-Wentz combo between the two of them, you got two guys with a lot of upside, even though it might be for me, I think Wentz is safe, but Roethlisberger doesn't have a safe floor, but he has a really big ceiling. I mean, he's been over 3,000 yards almost every year of his career, over 4,000 plenty of times. He has all those weapons at receiver. To me, one more year, ride it out. Let's see if Ben, what he can do. You know, he's got 2 Super Bowls. Again, it wasn't like he sucked this year. He didn't have a run game.
Tom, what do you think about that?
Does he really have that many weapons at receiver, though?
I mean, he's got some decent weapons at receiver. I mean, Juju's not any. I mean, Juju, yes, had a down year, right? He was too much on TikTok or whatnot, whatever you want to say about it.
I'm not saying it's a bad wide receiver room, but think about it this way: you're losing your running back and James Conner. There's options out there, but just to start with, you're going to lose him. You're losing Juju Smith-Schuster, who even through a bad year is still going to draw attention from defenses, right? They're not just going to forget about this guy. So beyond that, it's Deontay Johnson, good. Chase Claypool, huge upside, right? The guy's a monster. But then it's James Washington, Ray McLeod. It gets a little more questionable. So I think you do need to, if Juju's gone, you have to bring in somebody else. And the question is, are you drafting? Are you going through free agency? And are you trying to bring in a true wide receiver 1, or are you hoping that, Claypool or Deontay Johnson can take over as a true wide receiver 1? Because we saw the same issue when Antonio Brown left, where Juju Smith-Schuster couldn't really take over as that true wide receiver 1. So I'm almost of the thinking that you're better off, if you're the Steelers, you can just rebuild it here really quick. Like this is going to be a losing season. Your division is very good. Sure, you want, Roethlisberger to start, that's fine. But do you want to try and develop Haskins for the year? Is that going to be your goal? Is he your project to move into 2022? Because otherwise you're in a bad spot going into next season if you don't have that plan in place, because it's not looking good the moment that Ben is gone.
Troy, enlighten us.
I mean, everyone kind of took off my take, but regardless, I mean, like, there's not really much more I can say. I mean, Ben is he's not losing any more weight. I know Ryan mentioned he at the end of his career, he ain't losing any weight. So that's the first thing. And in terms of the wide receivers, Deontay Johnson and Claypool, I believe they're not gonna add a wide receiver 1 to the mix. I believe that they might get like a veteran or something like that, or maybe they'll draft somebody, but they're not going to get like any big name to add to it. I believe that Deontay Johnson and Claypool, they're good enough. If you just add like one more veteran piece, they're fine. Running game was abysmal. Like, they were like the worst. And it was bizarre that they were, because the Steelers are known for being a rushing team. So it was bizarre that they were just as awful as they were. And again, I mean, yeah, the shell of James Conner and Benny Snell. So now, like, you had a lot to work with, but it was still bizarre. And that was their downfall, right? That was their downfall, because literally all they did was throw the ball, and everyone knew what they were going to do. But the QB room is when you were rating that list after Ben, I just wanted to throw up. Right? That was terrible. Like no one, like those guys are always Dwayne Haskins project. He's gonna be a backup. Let's be honest. Like all those guys are probably gonna be career backups unless some miracle happens and Dwayne Haskins just ends up being good. Then I don't believe that any of those guys are the future. In terms of running back, I've heard a lot of people talk about Najee Harris going there. I believe that he would be amazing for the Steelers. I'm like that type of running back that makes sense to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I believe that would be an excellent addition, but I'm not excited. I'm not excited about Big Ben. In terms of redraft, like if you're streaming QBs, then yeah, you can grab Big Ben late. Kind of like he's always that QB you can always grab late in a streamer. Like I feel like he's that one name that you always talk about as like, all right, if you're gonna wait on QB, Big Ben's always gonna be there for you. But yeah, I'm not excited about it. I mean, they have to. If I were them, I don't know their whole draft order, but if they can get a QB late in the draft, I feel like they need a successor, and they don't have a successor on the roster right now.
So my thing is, running. You got to establish the run. Obviously, right? I think they've got it, guys, and a guy that we didn't touch on, and Anthony McFarland.
He ain't doing nothing. No.
Hey, Troy, check this out. The new OC of the Pittsburgh Steelers was the OC of the Terrapins when McFarland had his huge 1,000-yard season. They've got the chemistry, and as we both know, when we tell the story, you get to build the narrative. So here we go. The running game is going to be fine. They're going to add to the weapons for Big Ben, and McFarland will be the successor to this tough, terrapin, hard-nosed running game for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
But I got something to say. He's not built to be like an every down back. That's just not the way McFarland is
James
built.
Conner.
But here's the thing though. But in the limited time we saw McFarland, he's more of a back that would complement another back. It's one thing if you want to use like kind of a 1-2 punch. Like he's very electric, he's very explosive, but you're not going to use him on all three downs. They're just not. And also, he looked great in college, but he looks NFL. Like, look, everybody looks good in college, right? And then everyone wants to. And I understand the OC connection and all that, but everyone was really. I believe people took McFarland too high in rookie drafts last year, and obviously it didn't pan out too well. And I just don't believe that he's going to be anything more than a complimentary, like third down back kind of guy. So I understand your love for him. I respect the take, but I think you're a little. I think you're a little optimistic, but we'll see. I hope I'm wrong and you're right.
I'm a super optimistic guy. So that's not too far-fetched, Troy. That's the big thing you gotta know about me. I also said, what was it, guys? May 30th of last year? No. I forgot when it was. Whenever Tom Brady signed to the Buccaneers, what did I say, Tom?
Said he was going to the Super Bowl.
Super optimistic, Troy. Super optimistic.
That's a more believable take than McFarland being like a 3-down back for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year.
We'll see about that.
Look, you can clip this too. If I'm wrong, clip this and put it on replay.
I won't need to. It's okay though. But we will do that. I'll get Miles to do it. We'll move on to a guy that came in at Aaron Andrews and just said, I mean, it feels good, right, baby? We're talking about Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers. These guys are wild right now. Like, I don't know what to think. Is Deshaun Watson going there? Is Gardner Minshew going there? Is Jimmy G going to go back to New England? What's going to happen here with the San Francisco 49ers? Troy, I want you to start this off, man.
Why? We talked about all bad quarterbacks. He did this on purpose. Like, all these quarterbacks are not like fun to talk about. but
I'm just saying, because you got to dive a little bit deeper with
no. I like it.
We went alphabetical.
No, you're making me work. But it just so happens that all of them aren't great. But Jimmy G, I believe that, okay, he's another one of these inconsistent quarterbacks where he didn't have to do much in the system. again, all he barely had to do anything, but he barely did anything really well a lot of times, if that makes sense, right? He fit the system for a lot of games that he did just enough to help them win, with this handed it off, short passes. Like he worked for a while. And then all of a sudden he dealt with injuries. And then there were games where he just looked like the worst QB in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he happened to be back with the 49ers. If it was a betting man, I think they move on. But I wouldn't be shocked if, like, you know what, we're going to give this one more run with Jimmy G. And we're just going to, and hopefully their weapons are all healthy this year. And I believe they could be a real contender if, this upcoming year. But in terms of it, it's just so much uncertainty. Like, yeah, it could be Watson. I don't think if Gardner Minshew goes there, I'm not going to be that excited, to be honest. Like, I like Gardner Minshew, but it's still going to be the 49ers system. It's not like he's not going to air it out. Like, they're still going to be very conservative. It's still going to be running. So they just want somebody to fit in that puzzle piece. So I'm not high on Jimmy G. I don't think most people are high on Jimmy G. I'm not going to recommend you buy him in Dynasty unless you could get him for like a late third or early fourth or something like that. Again, if you have some high hopes for him, but that's my take on it.
I'm right there with you on that. Billy, being his number one option is your guy, George Kittle. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those guys that has to have the right supporting cast, and I do feel like San Francisco is the place. This is one of those teams that, like, every third year, the whole team, offense and defense, like, everybody gets hurt all at the same time. It's like the second or third time it's happened. But this is a guy that started out like 19-5 in his first 24 games with the Niners. And to Troy's point, almost doing not a whole lot special, took his team to the Super Bowl, and hey, with 7 minutes to go, they were up 21-10. So, I mean, he was really close to being a Super Bowl winning San Francisco 49er quarterback. However, last year, only played 6 games. Injuries decimated almost the whole team. Deebo Samuel hardly played. Ayuk was a rookie. Kittle spent some time banged up as well. The defense had a lot of guys banged up too. So I feel like if the Niners, everybody's healthy, it's a perfect storm where Jimmy Garoppolo could still be successful with this team. And to Troy's point, Kyle Shanahan's offense, he's just going to do his job. He's probably not going to throw 35 touchdowns anyway because it's a plethora of running backs, that running game, and trying to stop it, which allows the passing game to go. And obviously you got an elite talent in George Kittle. That really helps a quarterback out when you got a guy like that that's right over the middle, right in front of your face all the time. So I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't love Jimmy Garoppolo. I like him in this scenario with Kyle Shanahan, with that team, with everybody healthy. If Jimmy Garoppolo is not the guy, I'm probably not too interested and won't own many shares in any format, redraft, dynasty included, especially if he's not a 49er. So for me, with this team, everybody healthy, I think it works. I don't think it's special. I don't think the Niners have quit looking for somebody else to replace him. However, healthy, everybody around him healthy, defense ready to rock. I think the Niners could be a really good team still with Jimmy Garoppolo under center calling the offense.
Yeah, that division as a whole is going to be pretty legit all across the board. The Niners, too, that defense is lights out. Ryan, Tom, if y'all don't have anything to add to that, really, Seattle, Russell Wilson, what do y'all think?
I got one quick one for the Niners.
For sure.
I want to see a 3-way trade.
Oh, Lord. You guys and your, like, blockbuster trades looking like it's Hollywood video back in the 90s and stuff. Come on.
This is the year for it. With the cap issues, this is the year to see a big trade happen,
and we talk about it all the time. So
Jimmy G back to New England with Bill Belichick. Gardner Minshew to the Niners. Troy, I'm sorry if you can't tell, I'm a big Gardner Minshew guy.
Yeah, we like Gardner Minshew here.
I couldn't tell. Speaking of bad quarterbacks, I'm playing. Look, I was excited for Gardner.
Staple though, Troy. Like Gardner Minshew's little sister and Tom, they follow each other on Twitter. Like,
big fan.
That's the most random thing I've probably heard for a while. But that's awesome, though.
Welcome
that's
to the show,
awesome.
Troy.
But no,
that's hilarious.
Think about it this way, right? Gardner Minshew, his biggest criticism is he doesn't have a huge arm, which he might not be able to sling the ball. Like he hasn't put it on a rope 40 yards out, but he can put a ball downfield where it needs to go, right? He can make a lot. Yeah. to Chark.
Yep.
Right? The Niners have guys that are perfect for a West Coast offense that's that 5 to 15 yards out. They'll drag slants, ins, outs with Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Those are guys that you get them the ball and let them do the work after the catch. And then you got George Kittle over the middle. The O-line isn't great. You're going to be losing your left tackle and Trent Williams, most likely. He's a free agent. Even if you bring him back, he's a shell of what he was 8, 10, 12, 74 years ago in Washington. Yeah. So Gardner Minshew has the ability to move in the pocket. Again, not a running quarterback, but mobile. He moves around the pocket and rolls out and throws the ball well on the move.
I would say, yeah, I would say that the main reason I would want Gardner Minshew is because he is so much cheaper than Jimmy G. So if you're making that argument, like, hey, like Jimmy G's contract is not a great contract in the first place. So if you're making that argument, okay, we can get Gardner Minshew for cheap. He can probably run this offense. Okay, cool. I understand that take. Cool. And then, it just needs somebody, but I just don't see Gardner Minshew as like this amazing, starter. But you know what? In the San Francisco offense, you don't really need to be. And I guess I understand that point. You just need a guy. You need a guy to just do the basics because everyone else does all the work and he's just the facilitator of it.
And it frees up, like you said, he's cheap, so it frees up cap space. You got a lot of free agents there this year. A lot of them are older, so do you really want to bring them back? But whether you bring them back or bring in other weapons on offense, defense, whatever it might be, gives you flexibility.
You're right.
Joe Esposito, he's the best around, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I want to talk about Russell Wilson, man, and his disgruntledness with the Seattle Seahawks front office, offensive line, him getting hit. It's not helping that J.J. Watt just entered that division at all. I mean, geez, Ryan. J.J. Watt entering the division, Russell Wilson. We've heard from multiple sources, Troy's guy as well, Matthew Berry, legend in fantasy football world. He would get rid of everybody before he got rid of Russell Wilson. So I'm on that boat too. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I wouldn't get rid of Russell Wilson. Full stop. But I mean, if he's not happy, it's the same thing with Houston talking about Deshaun. You got to get rid of him, man. He's going to be a cancer in the locker room. You can get a ton for this guy, and that's why if I am Seattle, I'm at least hearing what the offers are because I just want to gauge the market. But unless I get a guy like Dak in return or somebody similar, Wilson ain't going anywhere. The other guys in this, they don't have anybody behind him. Nobody behind him worth anything. Geno Smith is a joke. So for me, it's Russell, who really just had in a lot of ways the best season of his career. He's going to be 33 next year, but he's played where he's not reliant on his athleticism. It's just a nice little tool in the toolbox. So again, career high completion percentage. He was 7 yards short. He had a great year, man. You want this guy. You want him in every format. He's not too young. I mean, he's not too old for dynasty yet. He should have at least 5 more solid years. Like he's going to age gracefully because it's not predicated on athleticism. It is an add-on, the athleticism.
I totally agree with that. Tom, what do you think?
Russell Wilson just doesn't want to play against Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Nick Bosa. That's 6 of his games out of the year. That sounds like a bad time, especially for a guy that spends over $1 million a year on maintaining his body. But if you are going to get rid of him, if you're Seattle, one of the places he dropped was the Raiders. Derek Carr is not a bad option. He's a very underrated one, actually. He's played top 12 quarterback at least over the last 2 or 3 years now. Like his completion percentage is high. He doesn't bring the same level of athleticism as Russell Wilson, but Wilson's also proved that that's not necessarily required. And if you're going to get a return with Carr, you can also use that return to finally maybe get some offensive line help, which they so desperately need. You're not going to be paying to get Derek Carr when you're giving up Russell Wilson. So like Ryan said, I'd be open to hearing offers, but as far as fantasy is concerned, I'm all in on Russell Wilson wherever he goes. I don't think it's really going to matter. He's going to succeed.
For sure. Troy, what are your thoughts?
So I'm still mad at Russell Wilson because in his list, he didn't mention the Dolphins, which is bizarre to me because that's probably the best landing spot for him
I
if he
agree.
wants to win a Super Bowl with the defense, with everything. So to me, I'm mad about that. But in terms of everything that you guys said, like, yeah, with with Nick Bosa, J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald in his division, and his offensive line has always sucked, so he's disgruntled because he's getting hurt. So I don't blame him for being disgruntled. I don't agree that he's going to be a cancer though, because Russell Wilson's just that stand-up guy that, okay, if he's there, he's like, let's go, guys. He's always going to be very positive and cheery. But if I was Seattle, I would obviously want to field offers like, hey, how much can we get for him? And you obviously need a QB in return. Derek Carr is a good option. I heard him rumoring. Also, I'm mad because he mentioned that the Bears were on his list. That makes absolutely no sense at all. That's like the worst destination for him. That's like one of the worst organizations in the NFL. But there's also not that much appeal. Like Allen Robinson, who knows what's going to happen with him? Maybe they tag him. You have David Montgomery. It doesn't seem, that was a really weird one that he added to his list. But the Raiders, that offensive line's great. So just like you were saying, Tom, like and Derek Carr is a fine option at QB for Seattle. So, and they would get a haul for Russell. So that might actually work out if they were going to trade with any team. But I believe also, again, the Dolphins would also be, obviously we have Tua. I believe in Tua, but that would make a bunch of sense. We have picks, we have Tua. That would make sense for us, but that's like you guys said, no matter where he plays, Russell Wilson is going to be great. He's going to be fine, and he's going to be a solid asset of fantasy.
Billy, what's your take on this? I know that we've touched on it a lot because we all like Russell, right?
Absolutely. I think the Seahawks would be absolutely nuts to trade Russell Wilson just because of the pillar in the locker room that he is, the choice point. This guy is a true leader. Guys want to go to Seattle because they want to play with a guy like Russell Wilson. However, Seattle needs to step their game up and get this guy some weapons. He's playing with some subpar receivers up until DK Metcalf. Since Marshawn Lynch, Chris Carson, he's all right. He's not fantastic, but and no tight end really to speak of for the last several years. That isn't a guy that's being made by Russell Wilson. If you look at Russell Wilson's stats this year, he's similar situation to our boy Deshaun Watson. Career highs across the board, almost everywhere. But a guy that's been sacked 40-plus times in 8 straight years. So in that division where he's facing, and now J.J. Watt's a Cardinal. So, the front has gotten even worse. I don't think Russell really wants out of Seattle, but I think he's digging his heels in the sand and trying to tell these guys, like, look, I can't do it forever, getting hit like this. 5 years of 500-plus rushing yards, and to Ryan's point, yeah, it's a tool in the tool bag, but lately it's gotten to be just a little bit too comfortable for the Seattle to just rely on that out of Russell Wilson. And he's played a lot of games pretty banged up. He just doesn't miss games because it's just the competitor that he is. However, the guy's uncomfortable. We see it when he's running. He's limping sometimes, not himself. And it's hard to grind 4 months when you're just getting the hell beat out of you all the time. So, and really, Seattle's offense has really gotten to where, similar to like McCarthy and the Packers, where, it's really abysmal until Russell Wilson works his magic late games to bring him back. And we've seen plenty of quarterbacks in that situation. They get really, really tired of that situation as it rolls on. They want some help. They want more of an offense. They want to go out there. They want to execute and play ball the way it's designed to be played, not out there getting hit, making just Superman-style plays to try to keep them in these division races as everybody around the Seahawks is getting better on a week-to-week basis, it seems.
Straight fire from the dragon as always. We're going to keep it moving though, Billy, and I want to keep it going with you, man. We're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. My guy, Tom Brady. I'm going to close this off after Troy about Tom Brady because y'all know how I'm going to talk about Tom Brady. But let's talk about Tom Brady. Do you think he's going to come back? Do you think they're going to take a Trey Lance? Do you think they're going to take someone in the draft to be the bridge? Do you think they're going to pick up somebody? What do you think is going to happen? Because I think Tampa Bay has a good shot of, making another push, especially with the whole narrative of people wanting to play with Tom Brady.
Oh, absolutely. If you're a guy in the free agent market and you're maybe towards the end of your career, you're calling and figuring out any sort of way that you can end up on the Buccaneers because in the NFC picture, especially the NFC South, the Panthers aren't a real factor. The Saints without Breeze aren't nearly as intimidating. And let's be honest, the Falcons, new coaching staff, aging weapons, all that stuff, you're maybe not that worried about the Falcons in a season-long race to win this thing. However, Tom Brady coming back, I think the Buccaneers will be better. I mean, we saw them struggle really up until like the last 5 or 7 games of the season. You know, they were still kind of struggling to get it put together. And then when they did, boom, the defense came together, the offense came together, everything started working. But Tom Brady, statistically, one of the best of his career and the best in several years of his career last year, testament to the weapons. However, they've got some things going on. Chris Godwin may be leaving in free agency. Not that they don't have people that can step up, but they don't have another Chris Godwin on that roster. Mike Evans is great. What's going to happen with Antonio Brown in the offseason? We know he's on a very, very short leash with Bruce Arians, so that's always something that could be up in the air. And they're pretty deep at the tight end position. They've got 3 guys that have played good ball. Obviously, Gronk, Cameron Brate. We've seen these guys be pretty good. So I don't think there's any reason to think Tom Brady's not going to be a high-end quarterback, and especially in a redraft scenario. So I like Tom Brady. He's going to keep winning bowls, but I hope your prediction that he loses the bowl next year to somebody comes right this time. But, yeah, Tom Brady is going to do well with those weapons around him. And now that these guys are on the same page in that offense, they get a whole offseason to work together and keep building on this thing. Tampa Bay is going to be hard to beat next year, man.
For sure. Ryan, Tom, our listeners have heard what we're going to talk about Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Troy, what's your take on this? Because you've been with us for a long haul, man, more than most of our guests have, and we definitely appreciate you, man. So your take on Tom Brady, and then we'll do a little exit for you, brother.
Of course. Well, man, I've had a good time, man, so it's no worries at all. But in terms of Tom, again, as a Dolphins fan, Tom has pretty much my entire life made me very sad. Okay, so Tom Brady, I'm not a fan as in terms of football, right?
Sure,
but Tom Brady, he exceeded expectations like he always does. You know, he was great, he was wonderful. So next year, I believe they have they definitely can make a playoff push. Their defense is still going to be solid. I believe they find a way to re-sign Chris Godwin. There's obviously Bruce Arians has already mentioned that's a priority. If they actually do it, who knows? Even if they don't re-sign Chris Godwin, I believe they're going to be fine. And that's really it. I mean, he's doing something that's unprecedented. Like, he's the GOAT. He's now he's 44, 45. Like, I'm forgetting how old he is, but he's clearly doing it. He's fitting that system well. And there was all those rumors about, they're not tailoring the system to Tom Brady and him, and all those rumors that maybe him and Bruce Arians don't get along. But obviously that was all squashed. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be a very competitive team next year still, and most of the pieces should be coming back. So, and the running game, I'm curious what they do with Leonard Fournette. I don't know if they're gonna sign to a cheap 1-year deal. I don't know if they're going to roll with just Ronald Jones as the RB1. Keyshawn Vaughn. No, I'm just playing. He ain't doing anything. But I'm playing. No, he's not going to do anything. He's gonna hold the waters for everyone. But no, they're going to be just fine. I mean, what else can I say about Tom Brady? He's great.
I mean, Troy, have you ever seen Entourage?
I've seen Entourage, yeah.
So there's how Turtle hates Tom Brady.
Yes.
I feel like that's your passion with him, because I'm just saying, if you ever met the guy, I feel like y'all would just mesh so well. You'd be like, damn, I'm about to go eat chocolates with Giselle.
So here's the thing: if I ever met Tom Brady, right? Because again, I'm 30 years old, right? So he's been playing for 20 years. So majority of my life, he's what my team's. But you just made my life miserable. I've had to watch him win multiple Super Bowls and just kick our division's ass at the time. So it's hard for me to root for him. But maybe if I ever met him, I feel differently. But Tom Brady's a sore spot for me just because of what I've been through as a fan. But if you could get him cheap for Dynasty, because obviously for Dynasty he's old. But at the same time, if you're a competitor, definitely throw out offers for Tom Brady in a super flex league. I will be definitely doing that.
Ryan already did that, and he got him. But that's besides the point, Troy. Troy, we definitely appreciate you and greatly enjoyed you being here and talking with us tonight, man. Let everyone know, obviously, you're a Rumboyz staple. So everyone who's watching already knows where they can follow you at, but where can everyone follow you at that's new, that are our followers watching you? And what are you currently working on? What are you in the future work on? And then obviously I'll spoil something for everybody. You can catch me and Troy on P2W Play to Win with Nick next Tuesday. And we'll be guessing on that show. But Troy, take it away, man.
Of course. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for having me. This has been really, really fun. You guys, I've really enjoyed all your takes, very insightful. I love the debates. Like, y'all, this was a really fun show. But in terms of where you can find me at T King Mode on Twitter. That's really where I live. I'm starting to do a little stuff on TikTok. I have Insta, but I don't really do fancy stuff on Insta. But Twitter's where you can find me. Again, I am one of the co-hosts of Fantasy Football Confidential. We air Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing every other Wednesday during the off season. During the normal season, it's every Wednesday. I'm also a contributor for Football Guys. Stay tuned for the content. You can I just did the couch. So I was on the couch with Sigmund Bloom. So you can check out that pod. That was a really good time. I'm going to be doing video content and articles for them, but stay tuned for those. I'm also a contributor to Join Our Circle. So I have a Quintez Cephas article on there on joinourcircle.com, so you can check that out. I'll have more content coming on the way. And yeah, that's kind of just a quick version. Right now I'm just kind of networking, growing, doing what I got to do. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me, Steffi Smalls, and Dave Kluge. We're going to be doing a Clubhouse, conference, whatever you want to call it, about networking. So definitely check that out. It'll be a good time. But again, guys, thank you so much for having me.
Troy, we hope to have you back on here in the future, man. But thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
Of course, guys. You guys, this was a great night. Thank you again.
Guys, everyone who is watching us, we thank you again for tuning in. That was Troy King at T King Mode. Find him tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thirsty Thursday, so he will have some new music. And then always on Fridays, he does the Flashback Fridays that I absolutely love, man. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to finish this off tonight, guys. We're going to do it. We're going to do it because we're talking about Ryan, the dude that I'm so high on right now in every super flex league that I'm waiting on quarterback. This is a guy that I'm targeting. So in the league that I'm with Steffi in, that I've got 3 running backs, I'm about to get 4 running backs, and everyone has 1 running back. The guy, the man, the myth, the legend, the team player who is a wide receiver at Texas A&M, who got drafted as a quarterback, who went under Adam Gase and had to live under that as a quarterback / wide receiver. I'm talking about Ryan the man Tannehill, man, the Thrilla in Manila, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan, take it away. You get to share the first names. I'm so jacked up right now, you can't even contain me.
All right. Well, I just have one thing I feel like I have to get off my chest before we continue here.
Oh, Lord.
Tom Brady is awesome, but I don't think that this is mostly – I know my cousin Brett is watching this right now. This debate is not over. Tom agrees with me that the debate is not over.
It'll never end.
Yeah, exactly, because we're still having it. So anyways, now that that's off my chest, I feel better about it. All right, Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill. You got to love what you're seeing from him with Henry. He doesn't have to be all-world. He is playing all-world because of Henry. I don't think he is all-world without him. But you got AJB. You had Corey Davis with the breakthrough this year. He had an over 65% completion percentage, a 33-7 touchdown interception ratio. Like, when you're looking at where you're getting Tannehill, holy cow, that is excellent, excellent. So, some of us are having the debate, Brett, I promise you.
Brett, I'm with you, and they hate me for it too.
Yeah, some of us are still having the debate.
Some of us are still watching Dallas Cowboys Super Bowls on VHS too.
That's true. I don't have a VHS, but I would if I could. But I want to talk about Tannehill with his 7 rushing touchdowns. Like that was not I mean, look, he's always had rushing ability based on the fact that he played wide receiver in college. He's not slow. But 7 rushing touchdowns, that's anomalous. I don't expect that to continue, but he can utilize the ground game some. Like, he's shown an ability. Obviously, Henry's going to vulture so much of that, but for Tannehill, he's an athlete. I mean, and he doesn't take a lot of hits. So it's a lot, in a lot of ways, it's like Wilson's probably trying to make it happen. Like, he can use it when he needs it, but it's not something, again, he has really excellent completion percentage, so many good weapons around him. The line is solid. Like, he's set up for success again. He's just to be 33 this year. I'm expecting another big year from Tannehill. He's not going to be a sexy pick, but he's a safe top 12 kind of guy.
I mean, you look at this, Ryan. In the last 2 years in this Tennessee offense that he's been in with Derrick Henry and Vrabel, his rushing touchdown you call it percentage, but I guess it's percentage. No, I'm sorry. Rushing touchdowns per game is 0.36. One every 3 games, he's scoring a rushing touchdown. Like, that's a safe floor for a guy that you're drafting where in like the 10th, 11th round.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Love it. Tom, what do you think, brother?
To me, Ryan Tannehill is the best version of a game manager you could ever get.
Of course. That's
right?
all I want when I'm drafting a quarterback that late.
Like, it sounds boring, right? Like, we think game manager, and it's like, well, that's not what I want. I want a superstar. Well, no, Ryan Tannehill is the best version because he has slightly more mobility than average, right? 7 rushing touchdowns this year. Like you said, Ryan, wouldn't expect that every year, but probably 2 or 3 a year is a pretty good bet for him, especially with this Tennessee offense. Again, I think Derrick Henry is definitely helping him out a bit, but I don't think that's going away, at least in the next year or two. So as far as passing, he is slightly more accurate than your average quarterback. He's in that mid to high 60% completion percentage range. Touchdown to interception wise, he makes very good decisions and doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I mean, you look at his numbers since he turned 30, really, right? Obviously he was in Miami, Adam Gase, that was just terrible. Double-digit interceptions every year. But his last season in Miami dropped down to 9 interceptions, and then coming to Tennessee went to 6 in 2019 and 7 last year. So he's making good decisions with the football. He's not losing you points from a fantasy perspective, right? So even though his yardage isn't crazy, even though he's not, rushing for 500, 600 yards a season, he's not losing you points on turnovers. And that's what helps you. That's what puts him into that top 12, even pushing top 10 quarterback status.
Billy, you and me are so in sync on most of our drafts where I don't even need to consult you on most things. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show Billy the picture later. And he's like, oh, good job. What do you think about Ryan Tannehill in these drafts? Because you know how I feel about this cat.
I feel like Ryan Tannehill is still kind of trying to shake off like the not very good performances that was happening in Miami. I mean, but he still had 2 4,000-yard seasons, 24-plus touchdowns in 3 straight years, and probably played the best quarterback that we've seen under Adam Gase, give or take. I'd be willing to bet that. But the thing about him is in Tennessee, it's not a sexy offense for a quarterback. Why? Because it's predicated on Derrick Henry getting 30 carries a day, which is fine. But Ryan Tannehill in this offense, game manager, whatever, what have you, he is the perfect quarterback for this offense. The athleticism that he brings is just a little bit of an added element to a team that really, I mean, outside of AJB, Jonnu Smith, really good tight end, not great tight end. And then Corey Davis, he showed spurts when Jonnu wasn't on the field. Probably a better player than what he's been able to show from a production standpoint for us fantasy stat guys. However, really a minimal impact on the field. If Ryan Tannehill had a legitimate second receiver or a real legitimate offensive weapon at tight end and not just the guy that can get the job done, it would be insane to see what this guy can do in this offense, because when you bring all those guys in the box to stop Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill can move and escape a little bit of pressure, and we saw them struggle for a few weeks this year after Taylor Lewan went down. It took them about 3 games to get right. Then they got everything figured out, and they were right back rolling again, the same intimidating Titans. And I just feel like the Titans are one of those teams, they're not that sexy start to finish, and that's kind of always been their MO. So we really underestimate the talent that Ryan Tannehill is. So I think he's a steal. 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, like Ryan said. That's a talented guy. Those are good fantasy numbers. And right around that 4,000 yards passing mark is right where you want to be for a guy that can carry you week to week. Now you're talking 7 rushing touchdowns, 33 passing touchdowns. We're talking about a guy that accounted for 40 touchdowns and turned the ball over 7 times. That's really impressive. Ryan Tannehill may be the most underrated quarterback in the NFL with how well he's playing at this point in his career. And I think most of it is still trying to shake off the negative of the negative look that the Dolphins leave on a guy. Just kind of stinks all around. So I think Tannehill is in a great spot, perfect spot for him. And I'm excited to see what these Titans do if they get another weapon and a little bit of defense to help this guy out.
I'm going to mention one thing, and I mentioned it to us in our group chat. I mean, you'll like A.J. Brown, right? Like, he's okay, right? Like, he's pretty good, right? Like, he's probably like the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, maybe. We saw it in our draft. But, I mean, if he's the wide receiver 1, who's throwing him those motherfucking touchdowns, boy? I mean, Eric Henry not throwing those touchdowns.
No.
Henry might be able to.
I'm just saying, good. But I'm just saying, A.J. Brown, if he is the number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty, like we saw, like you think, Ryan Tannehill's going to have a huge year. So,
he better have 100 catches or I'm going to be angry at Tannehill.
I mean, he's going to have at least 100 targets. That's about it.
He better have 100 targets or I'm going to be really angry at Tannehill.
Tom, do you have anything to add to this before we go on to the conclusion of our 4-part series?
I already hit on this, man, but I'm ready to go into the last team.
Let me do this real quick. I need to exit out of this. Pulling up my final stats right now. I had 9 different things going on. Gee Willikers, guys. We're talking about it right now. The Washington football team. We're going to end it off on this. Oh, Lord. The Washington football team, everybody. You have Alex. Do you have Alex Smith? But you have Kyle Allen. You have Steven Montez. You just got rid of Dwayne Haskins. Riverboat Ron, man, the dude loves it. But, Tom, you know what I always like to say, man. Sometimes, and it's a quote from Hamilton. You know how much I love Hamilton, guys. Let's follow the money and see where it goes. A guy who is started in three NFL football games, just got a 2-year extension for $9 million. Taylor Heineke, a.k.a. Heineken from Tom's guy, Cam Newton, was a Houston Texan, was also a Carolina Panther, but is now part of the Washington football team. Taylor Heineke, man, had the biggest game of his career, and also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the worst time against this certain quarterback who won the Super Bowl, who had a huge game in the Super Bowl against the billion-dollar baby Patrick Mahomes. This kid right here just got an extension. Sometimes you got to follow the money in my mind, right? I also said this last year with Tevin Coleman, and that didn't really work out. But this is the quarterback situation, right, guys? I think that Alex Smith got one foot out the door type deal. Taylor will be the quarterback for the Washington Football Club football team here in the next season, and I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think he's going to have a Gardner Minshew type effect. I know that's huge shoes to fill, guys. Free for all right now. Who wants it? Let's go.
I think it's going to be Kyle Allen that gets this job. He's 3 years younger than
Kyle Allen.
He's 3 years. Go do what?
Gig him, Kyle Allen.
Yeah, he's 3 years younger than Taylor Heineke. That caught me off guard. I didn't expect. He's going to be turning 25 this year. Heineke's going to be turning 28. So
You might have that Ryan Fitzpatrick type stuff. You got a lot of mentals game going on.
I mean, 26. Well, he also has way more starts and way more games.
Stuff, BY or Mormon type stuff. I don't know.
Fair, I guess.
He's fresh.
For me, he has more games, more body of work, a better completion percentage, the better TD, INT. Like, as I look down for
narrative with the coach as well. They were together in Carolina.
They both do. I think it's going to be one of these guys. And I think there probably will be a quarterback competition, but I'm just basing it off such a small sample size for Heineke. With what Kyle Allen did last year, he had 69. I know we were talking about a small sample size here too. He had a 69% completion percentage. Like, you're flirting with crazy numbers when you're getting close to 70.
Yeah.
So like, for me,
business.
yeah, I'd want to see what I have between these two guys. Neither one of them are too old. Neither one of them are too expensive. And Rivera knows both these guys. So I think that realistically, unless they snag a quarterback early, and even if they do, they might have an open competition because these guys are young enough without enough basically stuff to show where they could still be potentially excellent. I mean, the 2019 season in Carolina for Kyle Allen, he had some numbers that I was like, okay, this could be something here. Like, again, like with Daniel Jones as the rookie, when I see these rookie numbers, I'm like, all right, 33, 22, 17 TDs, 62% completion percentage. Like none of that stuff is scaring me off. None of it is. So seeing him do 69%, I want to see what he looks like when he's healthy. He's not really a rushing force per se, but you don't really need him to be. Washington needs to find a guy that's just not going to get him into trouble while their defense takes care of a lot of stuff. And I like the Gibson ground game. You got McLaurin. They're not that far from being pretty salty if they can just snag that right quarterback too, almost like an Alex Smith manage that team because they looked good with Alex Smith last year.
They really did, man. I mean, Alex Smith is comeback player of the year, obviously. Phenomenal. So, Tom, what's your take, brother? You got the mic really close.
Well, I was actually going to bring up Kyle Allen's time in Carolina. You know, I saw that. I'm not going to say he looked phenomenal, but on a bad team in 2019, the 2019 Panthers were not good for the record. Yes, you had CMC. Yes, you had more. You had pieces, but the O-line was garbage. The defense was garbage. You're playing from behind almost every game. And guess what? He still managed to go 5-7, right? So I don't dislike Kyle Allen. Heineke, I think you're trying to roll with a hot hand, which it's Riverboat Ron. I get it. You got to know when to hold him. You got to know when to fold him. Might be time to fold on Taylor Heineke pretty quick though.
That defense was legit in Tampa Bay. I mean, they stifled it.
It is. I'm not saying it's impossible for him to be the guy, but I think it's a quarterback competition regardless. But I will say there's two other possibilities for who I could see them possibly bringing in, depending on what their strategy is this offseason. What was it?
Minshew.
I do love Minshew.
I mean, I feel
I want Minshew everywhere.
I'm just saying, like, Tom, we talk about Minshew way too much. Like, he needs to be on an NFL franchise team as the face.
We need to get him on the show. We need to get him on the show.
Yeah, we need to get him on the pod. Yes.
Yeah, we're his number one pod.
We will get Operation Get Minshew a job right here. Fantasy Grounders making it happen.
Love it.
Seriously, let him start. Give him a chance.
Tweet at his sister and let him know we need contact info.
We need it.
You got it.
Right.
Well, boys.
Next guest.
The two people that I think, aside from Minshew, that I could see Washington possibly bringing in, this is in the draft, right? They have the 19th overall pick, so you're not looking at a top guy. I don't see them trading up to go get Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson or Jeff Fields
right now.
What's that?
I said, if you say Kellen Mond, I'm going to be so upset.
No, not Kellen Mond.
Okay, good.
If they're going to go first round, a guy I could see getting to that 19th pick possibly is Trey Lance.
No.
Depends on how it falls.
No, I won't hear that.
Depends on how the draft falls. Possibility he could be there at 19. And if so, I don't dislike that pick at 19.
No.
Not the worst thing in the world.
Trey Lance.
I wouldn't necessarily go up in the draft to get him, but if he falls, it's not a bad one. If he's not available, which I'm not saying that he's going to be, the next one, not going to be Mac Jones. He doesn't fit that team, but Kyle Trask.
Oh.
Don't dislike Kyle Trask in a quarterback competition here. I don't think any of these three guys are the ones that are going to light up your franchise for the next 15 years, but for the next 3 or 4, going between Kyle Trask, Kyle Allen, and the only guy that's not named Kyle on this team and doesn't drink monsters and punch holes in the wall, Taylor Heineke. I'd love to see a quarterback competition between those three guys.
I absolutely don't dislike it. That's first of all. But real quick, what do y'all think about Steven Montez? I'm just saying. I'm just asking. Right? Just
I need to look him up. Hang on.
Nah, man, I can't buy it. I just
That's fair. Well, look, we're not talking about any more quarterbacks anymore tonight, guys. We've been on for about 100 minutes. We had a great show as our first show back as a podcast, guys. I want to shout out real quick. I want to shout out to a couple people. I want to shout out to Miles, FF Peacock, first of all, foremost, man, for hooking us up with our logo, our banner, our new jingle, the sea shanty with the drop beat, man. FF Peacock is a tier above the rest. Like, we've never had this kind of support or like graphic design person behind us. Y'all are about to see us get wild because my mind is crazy and Miles is just as crazy. Go Texas boys, man. I always tell you, give the Texas boys the juice, right, Billy? Second of all, man, our fearless leader in Robbie, man. Robbie of Rumboyz, free Rumboyz. The dude is a cut above the rest. Great recognizes great. He has an energy and a persona that gravitates good people around him. And that's how we got brought to him. That's how Peacock got towards him too, man. Like, Robbie's just a good dude. Everyone knows him. So just follow him on all sorts of Twitter accounts. The big thing, though, guys, what I will be doing this weekend, I'm going to start getting ready tomorrow and probably Friday. I'll drop my first battle. We're all going to be on the SportsMe app, guys. Like I mentioned to Ryan, Billy, and Tom earlier, this is a place that's it's like TikTok, but it's for, if you can imagine TikTok with Eminem and 8 Mile, 8 Mile, there we go, right? Like, it's a battleground place. Like, you get to go and flex your muscles in real time versus other analysts who don't get to prep, that don't get to say anything, right? Like, you're like Ryan, Billy, you go in there and say, Mike Gesicki, baby. I'm going to take him in the 7th round, and he's going to be the tight end number 4 this year. What you got? You have no chance to rebuttal or look. You just got to go with your brain and just go into the battle. It's super, super innovative, and it really shows what we have as analysts. Super enjoy it. Rumboyz, number 1 on the list right now and winning battles. So you got to like that. Guys, what do you have for our new flag, for our new followers? Where can everyone follow us at? Tom's got a new moniker. We've all kept the same ones, but obviously Tom had to change. So where can everyone follow us at? What are we going to be working on, guys? Ryan, especially you and Billy, let everyone know what we're working on. And then next week, we will be diving into Billy. Take us away with that after Tom goes.
Yeah, man. New Twitter handle at FFR Tom, Fantasy First Rounders Tom. So hit me up on there. Gardner Minshew, make sure you hit me up. We want to get you on the pod. We want to get you a starting job. We're going to get that going here, right? Or your sister, Callie Minshew. It's okay. My fiance said it's fine. No, but really, though, big Minshew fans here, all of us. But follow me on Twitter. Always here with the hot takes, trying to bring in something that's reasonable but nice and spicy. So keep an eye on what we're doing here. We got some big stuff in the works. I don't want to say too much. We'll keep it a little ambiguous here, but there's some big things that are in the works along with what Ryan and Billy are doing for us here.
Yeah, so follow me as always at bwit24. Get into the off-season stuff this time of year. Doing some dynasty drafts. That's kind of where my mind's at right now, but definitely want to get some material out for redraft. I know Ryan will be hitting the dynasty stuff hard for everybody. Chris flaunting his what?
Oh, what?
You were blinding me. I couldn't talk. I had too much flash in my face right there. So thanks for sharing, Chris. But so next week we will be jumping into draft preparation as we move into the NFL draft. No combine this year, so a little extra homework for everybody to really get an eye on a lot of these players. But a lot of really great prospects that some nice landing spots for the right guys. There's going to be some fantasy breakouts in 2021 for sure. This is a really impressive rookie class, really deep at all the fun positions. And excited to see how this quarterback stuff plays out. So we'll be diving into that starting next week. for you guys here on the Rumboyz Network. So with that, I'll pass it to Ryan to let you know what else we got cooking.
Yeah, like we said from the beginning, guys, those fantasy leagues, we're going to start filling those up. So just holler at any of us or holler at the Fantasy First Rounders Twitter. Any of us can get you on the list, and we will start building these leagues. We're really excited about what we're doing. You can find me on Twitter at Real Ryan Hicks. My next project soon coming up will be some March Dynasty targets to trade for. I'm kind of focusing on I saw this interesting value chart about when guys are worth more and less and how draft picks are valued worth more or less time of the year. So being able to abuse those rookie picks and knowing where the value is on those and how the draft is going to affect that, I'm going to be looking at that moving forward for dynasty trade targets, like a March edition. I did a February edition. Now I'm going to look at the March edition and see what kind of has changed in the landscape. You know, when I last wrote, Carson Wentz hadn't signed, the Stafford trade hadn't happened. So there's a lot of things to look at now. And there will continue to be until kickoff. All the movement, all of the drafting, the free agent stuff going on. I mean, Watt signed, but who else is going where? We're going to be finding out a lot more about this. So all these things affect Dynasty, and that's what I'm going to try to be staying up on is, all right, these are the trade targets now after these news. You know, this is how I like him at this value and vice versa. So, you know, your buys and sells. So, yeah, you can find us all here every Wednesday night, and then you can find us. We will be posting all this stuff. We're going to be putting out content soon. We're just, again, making the move, getting everything ready. Really excited to get started churning out content again.
Yeah, and everyone, you can follow me at Aggie Kappa Sig. Same thing that Ryan said, man. Every day we're going to be grinding. Our fearless leader, I didn't mention these guys. We're going to be moving to Saturdays, but Robbie was like, hey, you know what? Y'all have been successful on Wednesdays. We're going to keep you on Wednesdays for the duration. So during the season, we'll still be on Wednesdays. All the offseason will be on Wednesdays, keeping it the same slot time, the same everything. Just a new background, guys. Same stuff, same analytics. The great analytics that we bring you that most people don't take the time to do. But that's fine. Guys, we're super happy to be here. I'm super happy. I really don't even know what to say right now because I'm super happy. So thank you for everyone who tuned in for our first episode with the Rumboyz. We're going to continue to do it. We'll continue to have great guests join us. So for this, guys, it's our first sign off. I guess I can say we'll do the Robbie, right? Dilly dilly, everybody. Where's the beer? Dilly dilly. Good night.